We are live. So, sorry about last minute. Yesterday, my dog decided to throw a tantrum 5 minutes before I went on, so I just called it. But tonight, if anyone's not, out partying, doing this hangout thing, I'll be here just chatting about life events. Just talking about a lot of things tonight. I want to talk about Cathedral. I want to talk about Barnes & Noble. I want to talk about Authorcon. And really just chat. How's the volume? Seems like it's okay. Guess we'll find out. So, I had like a horrible cough for almost 2 weeks straight. So, bear with me if I'm drinking a lot tonight. Water, that is. I think starting this off with talking about Authorcon, because that was about a month ago now. But that was April 12th to the 14th. And I had met even more people this time. It's always a massive show. It's always a show that brings a lot of new readers, a lot of new writers. And I know this year specifically, they expanded to an even bigger amount than they had last year. I know a lot of people doubled up. I know a lot of people had tables in new spaces, and it seemed like there was just a lot of people coming to not only read, some of the big names over there, but obviously the guests of honors as well. And there were so many this year. I feel like there were at least 10. I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head, but it was such a good show. I was able to meet a lot of readers that I just see on social media and really hang out with people I wouldn't normally hang out with because they're on the other side of the country. But that's something I really got to enjoy. I think that show specifically is just so beneficial because everyone knows the value in that show, not only for the reader writer side, getting to meet your audience in person, but every dollar that we make or every dollar that we earn helps people. And it's so fun to be able to do something that's so fun and really soak in the feeling of doing good and not just like making a buck for ourselves. But it's always a good laugh. The bra walk is always a fun thing. If you don't know about the bra walk, I can talk about that. And from like Thursday night to like Monday morning, it's really just you're always with someone, you're always talking to someone, you're probably meeting someone new, you're engaging with someone while meeting someone else. It's really just an in-your-face experience that is so fulfilling for the entire year. And I know this year specifically, they're starting to expand. We have St. Louis in October, which I will be attending. So if you're going to St. Louis, be sure to come find me. I'll be sharing a table with Tony Evans. And then I'm going to try and get a table for Virginia, which is going to be March of the next year. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head, but stay tuned for that. That is a show that I always want to get to. The Virginia show is the event of the year. I was vending with my wife this year, and she brought her own products, so it was nice. We get to split a table, and it's kind of like our own little getaway for the week. Well, for the year as well. That show, that was the first show she went with me. She 2022, that was the first show that she came with me, and she really just pushed me to be more outgoing, really just get my name out there. And then last year she was supportive as well, but this was the first year that she brought her own items to sell, and she did fairly well. I think she almost did better than me. And she gets to hang out and meet a lot of my friends, a lot of the people who read my books. And we were fortunate enough that we got to have a really great double date, both the Thursday and the Sunday, with one of my reading friends, Kira, and her husband, Dennis. And they ended up being great friends. So the environment, the kindness, there's a lot of people who look so intimidating, and a lot of them are, but they don't come off as intimidating. They're super nice in person, and people who've been writing for decades, and they've just the sweetest people ever. So Authorcon, if you're a reader, if you're a writer and you haven't gone yet, please go. And depending on where you are in the country, St. Louis is happening. Virginia is the annual event. There were whispers of shows eventually going overseas. It's not finalized yet, but they had an open discussion about it. So yeah, Authorcon is one of the best, and you guys really need to check it out. And on top of that, you really need to check out Scares That Care and donate any money you can. It helps 3 families. One family of a terminal ill person, one person that suffered burns, and the third is for a breast cancer. Someone who's suffering from breast cancer. So, and that kind of leads back to the bra walk I was talking about. So the Saturday night, they do a bra walk where it usually varies depending on who's attending, but there's a gentleman dressed up as a Grim Reaper, and he puts a bra over his Grim Reaper cloak. Brian Keene does it. It used to be Joe Ripple, but he doesn't do it anymore. Brian Keene took it over, and then this year, Wrath James White did it. So really, you're just kind of stuffing any cash you can in their bras. And I think this year they raised $3,000 and spend 2 or 3 hours. So it's that effective, and they try to raise $10,000 per family. So a third of it is right there. That's incredible, just for people tipping. So going back to the other things I was talking about, the reason I brought up Authorcon first was I had met Cassandra Celia. I'm not entirely sure about the pronunciation. I'm so sorry, Cassandra. But we were discussing an event that was hosted at the Barnes & Noble that Cassandra works at. And Cassandra, Aaron Beauregard, Dan Volpe and Christiana did an event in October, and the name's escaping right now, but it was in the theme of Halloween in October, and they had an event where they sold their books. People came and came to get the book signed, and it was a great event. So I wanted to meet her. That seemed like a really cool opportunity, especially because Barnes and Noble seems to be like very spotty with stuff, unless like someone like Cassandra is working an event like that or has a hand in the horror genre, or like hosting horror events such as that. So after speaking, uh, Cassandra had mentioned that my books could be available at Barnes and Noble. She had messaged me and said that she had ordered a few of mine, and I was completely blown away. And that the last weekend, I was in Delaware visiting my mother, and her store, Cassandra's store, was about an hour from where my mom lives. So we drove over, did like a little surprise for my mom, who's very supportive of my writing, and I was able to walk in and see Dead Planet on the shelves. It was something that I didn't think was going to happen for a very long time. I'm just shy of 3 years in the indie horror scene, I guess you could call it. So to be able to do something like that, to have, Barnes and Noble, like such a big store, carry my book is just so overwhelming. I'm incredibly proud to have my book at the Book and Nook, the Book and Nook in Warwick, New York. I had an event there with Daniel Volpe as well, and a bunch of other Hudson Valley authors. And it was incredible to have my book on a bookshelf, to be able to see that for the first time is such a joy. But to be able to have it on an even grander scale, like Barnes and Noble, is just, that's like to be able to get to like a mass audience is the goal. It's a long-term goal. So I was just blown away, and Cassandra was kind enough to kind of show me that there was a lot of other big names with me on that shelf, and not just, not like Stephen King's and Anne Rice, but a lot of other authors that are local, a lot of other authors that are in the indie community. And lo and behold, Raoul Malfi came in that same day. I believe he lives very close by, and he came by, and we took a photo together right in front of my book, which is a huge honor. Raoul Malfi's a big name, and he's a good guy. I did a panel with him last Authorcon, so to be able to like have that sort of camaraderie with him is so flattering. It's so inspiring that, one, he knows who I am. Two, he was kind enough to share that joy and share that enthusiasm with me. Excuse me, I'm still kind of getting over this cough. And to circle back again to Authorcon, this year specifically, I was like very moved because I know that people know who I am, because every year I'm just meeting more and more people. But there was a handful of people this year that I didn't know if they knew who I was, and I didn't know if they'd known my name. Like, I've met them, and you meet people, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen you before, whatever. But like, there was a few people that I'm like, there was a few situations where like people were meeting me, or they were like, they had excuse me, or they had already met me, and they were already drinking, and they're like, oh, what's your name? And someone would intervene and say, oh, that's Joe Pizzaveno. And it was coming from someone that, like, wow, you know who I am. That's crazy. I didn't think that you did. And it's like, I don't mean to sound like sad, or I don't mean to sound like it's like like, you know who I am. No, it's more like you have a reputation, and you have an audience, and you have a name that a lot of people already know, and the fact that you know me, it's crazy. Hard work pays. Yes, Brandon, what is up? That is fact. Um, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you hanging out, man. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, like, hard work. It's really just that, and it's weird that when people talk about this stuff, because they say, like, if you, what is it saying? If you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life, and it's kind of really that. But like, at the same time, it is hard work, because there are aspects of writing that just are so draining, like the edits, or like and I feel like I'm a little, like, obsessive with the way I do it. Like, I feel like I have to, like, reread it 6 times, but I know that's not really healthy, and I have to, like, really trust my editors, and trust that my proofreads are good, and the people are going to read it, because I usually get pretty good feedback, and I it seems like people are really starting to enjoy what I write. So I'm really grateful that there's a lot of support, and it's steadily growing. But back to what I was saying, yeah, it was just very flattering, and I feel like by the end of this Authorcon, I left with, like, all right, like, okay, people really know who I am, but now they need to really see how far I can go with this, and people who do this full time and make a lot more than I could ever think of making are like, wow, you're killing it, and I'm like, that means a lot coming from you. Um, and I'm not gonna name any names, because one, it's not really that important, and two, like, I don't want to, like, talk for them, if that makes sense. But uh, Cassandra was just really cool when we went in, and I liked that the environment that she had brought up was there's a big horror fan base in that area, and Blood on the Bookshelves, that's what it was. And if I'm mispronouncing that or saying it wrong, I'm sorry, but the event that she did with Triana Beauregard and Volpe was Blood on the Bookshelves, and to kind of be invited into that environment down there was really cool, and it was really flattering. I have a lot of respect for Cassandra. We traded books at the I think the Sunday of Authorcon. I believe I got a copy of her book Sugarcane, I think. But I'm excited to read that. I was really flattered that she read Hyde Cove, and I think she's going to be, I think she said she started reading another one, but either way, I'm so grateful, so thankful for Cassandra and all the opportunities she gave me. It was incredibly cool to see my book on the horror shelf, and I was able to sign it and leave signed copies, which is even cooler. There's another big horror author who I greatly admire, and sorry, I have, like, my dog's fur on me. I was really flattered to. Oh, that's my train of thought. It was really. Oh, sorry. It was really cool to see my book signed with, like, the signed stickers. So that was really cool. And there's an author that I greatly admire, and he goes around and signs a lot of the books at bookstores. So it was like a small little milestone to be able to see that finally happened with one of my books. Look, I'm gonna try to watch what I can. I'm doing good. I'm gonna check out Barnes and Noble. Now it's time to see if I can find your book. Yeah, dude, I think you can order it. So it's not at every store yet, but you can definitely go in and order it from them, or you can order it online and just pick up at the store. I am available on the website, so you'll be able to find it if you look up my name. but I'm not in all stores yet. I'm trying to figure out a game plan for that to happen, but stay tuned. I don't know the ins and outs of the retail space as much as I as much as I should. Uh, this is all like a learning process. Like every book, I learn like a little bit more, but it's still not enough to get me into all the stores yet. So yeah, me and Barzan, that was very cool, and I had a lot of support. I had a lot of people sharing the excitement with me. So it's really cool to just do this all the time and just get a little bit better, get a little bit more driven and excited and motivated to do these things. I'm not slowing down at all. I could probably, like right now, if I think I have maybe like 5 or 6 books that I have like thought out, not really like conceptualized, not really outlined or anything like that. But I could definitely do something with a big chunk of them, excuse me. So I already started my next one. It's kind of something I've like put down, pick back up, put down, pick back up. So I'm just going to dive into that one next. I think with the Cathedral Dimension, which I'll probably talk about in a little bit, it was something that I was kind of dipping my toes into extreme horror. And when I was talking to Kira on live, I said that it was like diet extreme horror because I don't really think it like pushes the line too much, but it definitely has that flavor, kind of like diet soda. That's why I said diet extreme horror. Have you ever thought about doing a collab with another writer? Uh, Sorry, I was reading your message before. Yeah, I was actually talking to another writer years ago, and we had started writing something, but it didn't really go anywhere. I believe she kind of just took another career path and kind of just slowly stopped talking. But I am talking with another writer who I met at Authorcon, and I had read her work before, and I was very excited to finally meet her at Authorcon because she is a fantastic writer. And we spoke, was it last week? Yeah, we spoke last week, and we were talking about an idea that we're going to start conceptualizing and maybe start writing. I think in the summer, maybe. My schedule is kind of all over the place right now, and I know her schedule is kind of all over the place right now. So we really just have like a general like place where we can just take notes and talk about things, and then I think like towards the end of June, the beginning of July, we'll start like, okay, this is the outline, or we'll start the outline, and then probably like maybe the mid to end of summer, we'll start like writing it. I don't know how we're gonna start writing it. I've never written with someone before, um, in a steady. In a, I'm sorry, guys. In a steady schedule, so I don't know if it would be like I write a chapter, she writes a chapter, vice versa, or we'd write like a bunch of chapters and then we pass it off for another group of chapters. So we'll see, but that is something that is going to be happening sooner than later. I think that, well, one, our idea had a mutual concept that just came out of nowhere, and that was really exciting for me. So I'm itching to finally sit down with her and get the idea outlined and starting to write it, because it's something that I've kind of wanted to dive into, and it's something that I don't know if I don't think she's written this before. I'm not going to say anything yet, but it's a pretty popular subgenre that I think a lot of people resonate to, and I think there are really bad variations of how it's done and really good variations of how it's done. but on top of that, it's also been like a wide range of like tame to like insanely violent. And I think we want to go, I wouldn't say like extreme. I know she hasn't dabbled in extreme that much, nor has she written it, but I wouldn't mind pushing the bar a little bit. And I think kind of like keeping it in that like diet extreme horror or diet splatterpunk would be the great spot, because it's a genre where you want to see a lot of violence. So I'll just leave it at that. So that's the long-winded answer. But yes, I think the idea of collaborating is really cool, because generally you'll have different ideas or different styles that are enough of a difference where you kind of get two styles in one book, but close enough where it doesn't feel like you're writing two people are writing at once. So I'm really excited about that. But I'll keep you posted in vague posts later on in the year. We'll probably have like an announcement. I want to say like the beginning of the winter, depending on how long this takes. But we're also like, you know what? Forget I just said that. We're gonna have an announcement when the announcement's ready. We talked about taking it slowly, and even if we write it, we don't know if we're writing it for an audience or we're just writing for ourselves. I don't want to promise anyone anything on her behalf. I just want to say that if we do decide to release it, we're going to make it right, and we're going to do it with as much devotion as we would separately. So to have twice the devotion in one book is going to be even more exciting for when you get to read it. But I've already been thinking of like marketing tactics for it, and I think that it can be really fun. I don't know how, because she lives in a state, I'd have to look at a map, but it's quite a bit far from me. I will say that. And I'm not talking about like North Carolina. I'm talking like, I'm not going to say the state she lives in, but around Arkansas. So it's not really like I can just drive over to her house. But she doesn't live in Arkansas. She lives in another state. You can guess, but I won't tell you. All right, more water. Whoever's hanging, thank you for hanging. I appreciate you. Brennan, you're the man. I was actually just thinking about you the other day, because I was thinking about you having a laughing fit watching Big Daddy. That's throwing it back maybe 20 years. I've known Brandon, good God. When did we start hanging out? Like fourth grade, fifth grade? I don't remember. But I was always at your house. You were always at my house. So let's talk about the Cathedral Dimension. It's been out for 2 weeks now. Yeah, it's been out for 2 weeks. If you are... Sorry, notifications. Okay. If anyone wants, it's available on my website, josephpezzolano.com. If you want a signed copy and a ton of stickers, just head on over there and you can order it, and I'll get it out to you. If you order it tonight, I'll get it out to you by tomorrow. After that, you're gonna have to wait a little bit, but we'll get on that in a minute. It was very fun to read. 2 weeks ago, I did a live Instagram video with Kira, my good friend that I met at Authorcon, who I've been hanging out with or talking with online. I haven't been hanging out with her. I've been talking with her online since early 2023. I finally met her for the first time in Virginia at Authorcon, and she was kind enough to help me kind of promote it. She beta read Cathedral, and she gave me a lot of notes on certain scenes that could have been altered or things that she thought could have been tweaked. And she gave me a lot of value, and having her talk about it was very great because it kind of already opens the doors to someone like that who is a pretty big presence on Bookstagram or Book Talk, whatever you want to call them, and to have that and to have her hanging out with me and talking with me personally just was so great because there's that personal interaction with the story and the personal interaction with the author, and it was really fun doing that. But if you haven't seen that, go check that out. That's on my Instagram. It has to be. I was watching Big Daddy the other day, and the court scene still makes me laugh. Yeah, that movie's so funny. I need to watch it again. There was another Adam Sandler movie that always kills me. But anyway, we're getting off topic. But yeah, I need to watch that again. The Cathedral Dimension was a book that I had kind of in my head that was a little bit different. I wanted to play with timelines in it, but when I started writing it, I kind of like pantsed it in regards to, if anyone doesn't know what pantsing means, it's kind of like you just write by the seat of your pants, so you just kind of like write it as it comes out. So I just kind of wrote it like I did, like almost kind of like how NaNoWriMo is. Like you just write like a certain amount of words every day, and it just kind of molds itself. It was probably like the loosely structured writing I had for it, but I think it was one of my stronger stories because there's a lot of like themes in there that are heavy, and there's a lot of like intensity with some of those scenes, to the point where like I pushed the boundary a little bit. This is the first book I put a trigger warning in. I'm not going to say what the trigger warning is, but obviously I don't believe the things that I wrote in regards to like, I'm a firm believer in, if you can write something like horrible about a certain group of people or a certain demographic of people, that you don't have to believe in it, but you're building a character that is so heinous that the audience is going to hate them too. And that was a big motivator for me when I started writing, was I wanted to make certain characters so obnoxious and so vile that you hate them by the time the book's done. And that's something I did a lot more with one of the supporting characters in the Cathedral Dimension. Excuse me. So I really pushed the boundaries with it. I had a few people read it, and one person said that it was a little too much, and then other people said it wasn't enough, or it could have been worse. So just for the sake of how the world is, and just to make sure that I don't want to be on that side of the internet where people are bringing up my name for bad reasons, I put a trigger warning. I'm not someone who necessarily needs trigger warnings. I've read a lot of extreme horror and splatterpunk books, and they're disturbing, but if you know certain authors and their reputation for those genres, you kind of have to face it. You're not going to see, for example, you're not going to go see a Rob Zombie movie and expect like a PG-13 movie. Like, he's known for really piling on the gore and really piling on all the filth that he can, because he likes that style. He likes that, in his words, that like white trash backwoods kind of setting. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that extreme, and you get that intensity. The Cathedral Dimension was something that I played around with in many different ways. Like I said earlier, I was going to play around with timelines, and then when I finally got to the story, I thought the multiple timelines didn't really work, but there needed to be a heavy presence. So I had kind of like a cult in it, and the cult presence is very heavy, and you see really early on that the book is going to start one way and end another way, and I think it works like that really well. And I think that, excuse me, I think it works because it's kind of like, excuse me, sorry, it's way past my bedtime, but we're doing this. I think it works because it was the first time I've ever written something like this, and I've been a big fan of stuff like that where like you kind of get this like creeping feeling that something's unsettling and something's wrong, and then by the time you get to the end, you're like, wow, that went way further than what I thought and way crazier than what I thought. So you're really going to get that in this book, and I had a lot of fun bringing that conclusion, and I think that I brought something a little bit different than what I normally do. And I think it's, if you're a fan of my work, I think you're going to read it and be like, wow, this is kind of like a new territory for him. But it's not a long read either. It's probably one of the shortest things I've read. I think cover to cover it's like 98 pages. Excuse me. It's like 98 pages, so it reads quick, but it's a heavy read. So be warned if you read it. Um, and thank you for the support as always. If you read it, I'm forever grateful. See, it's like a cough. It just doesn't go away. It's infuriating. What else? So I'm doing YouTube because it's been a while since I've been on a vlog, and there's a number of reasons for that. Long story short, with the way that Hollywood was last year, I was on a work break. So after I did Monster Mania in March, I went right back to work and got right back into the craziness and busyness of my day job. And this is coming from like 5 to 6 months of not working. So it took a toll on me getting back in. Like, wow, this is intense. I don't remember, having to get up this early. I don't remember having to, like be on my feet all day. Not that I was lazy when I was off, but it was like I was on like a new schedule of like stuff around the house, the dog, running errands, and there was a lot of difference between being on your feet all day. I don't sit at work. I honestly don't like sitting at work because I work in a warehouse and I hate the idea of sitting. Not because like I'm like I need to stand all day, but if I'm going to, I feel like the idea of working in a warehouse is one, you get to stand on your feet, you get to stand all day, but you also get to kind of get like a little workout in it. So like I don't like sitting because if I sit, then I'm not going to do anything, and then I'm going to half-ass, and I don't want to do that. So I don't allow myself to sit. I don't even have like a stool. It's just really like the break room, or I sit in my car at lunch because I really don't like being like in a loud area. I work in Queens, loud Italian guys, and I don't want to hear that. I want to have peace and quiet. Sometimes take a nap. But back to work, there was a lot less time to vlog. There was a lot less time to be creative, and there was like a period. I think it was right after Monster Mania, where I was just kind of like burnt out in the sense that Cathedral was pretty much done, and I didn't really want to start writing anything. I was really just reading and like, do I really want to film? I don't really want to film, and I haven't like lost my passion. I still want to film, and I'm probably going to be filming in the next few weeks because I have some news that I'm going to talk about after this. But on top of just kind of being tired after I get home, weekends usually kind of just all my free time. So if it's not having, hangout plans, excuse me, if it's not hangout plans, if it's not groceries, if it's not seeing family or friends, if it's not just relaxing and reading, like my wife and I, once in a while, we'll have like a weekend where we just like watch TV, order food, and then just kind of just sleep in. It's really just all my weekends go to something else. So that's why there's been like a hiatus on the vlogs. Now they're not, like I said, they're not going to go away. They're not going to slow down. I plan on doing maybe 2 in the next 2 weeks for a very important reason. And then when I get back, I want to start getting back into the routine of like talking a lot about my creative endeavors or like what's going on, because when I get back from where I'm going, I have Living Dead weekend in June. July I have Blobfest. August I have KillerCon. September I have CT Horror Fest. Also in August I have Monster Mania, and I'm sharing a table with another talented writer. Then I have KillerCon, which I'm just attending. September I have CT Horror Fest. October I may have... What do I have in October? I don't think anything... I feel like I have something in October. I'm drawing a blank right now, but... In October I have Authorcon in St. Louis. November I have Monster Mania in Oaks. I'm really not that tired. I think it's just like talking. Anyway, and then nothing in December. I'm probably going to take a break for the one-day shows. Last December I got sick. January I don't think I had anything. February I had one, but it was very slow. It was a one-day event, but it was like 2.5 hours. No, it was 2 hours, a little over 2 hours away, and it just really wasn't worth the traffic and the gas. And then March, I had Monster Mania. So Monster Mania will probably be like the show that I come back to after November. But we're gonna see, because next year it might be a little different. I'll up to you probably closer to the end of the year, but I think my schedule is going to be vastly more reduced, because the horror conventions have been very spotty, where like some are like, holy crap, I sold 60 books, and others are like, wow, I sold 6 books. And I have to pay for a hotel. So that usually doesn't cover like the shampoo in the hotel, let alone the hotel itself. So yeah, hold on one second. The vlogs are going to be coming back. I'm planning on filming as early as Tuesday. I've got some cool ideas. And after that, when I get back, I really want to try some new things. I want to maybe start talking with people, doing like an interview / vlog, and really just expand a little bit more. YouTube has been so cool and so fun. I've been playing around with a lot of different things, and even doing this live will work towards my algorithm eventually getting monetized and eventually making money. And it's going to be really cool to do things like that 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, where like even if I'm making cents, it's still something, and I can apply that to my business, and it'll just be fun to be able to do things like that. And I like doing these things. I like talking. I like being on camera now. I like talking about the things that I'm working on. Even if it's just one person watching, it's still one person watching. That was one more person than was watching 3 years ago. So, and plus you can watch this anytime you want after that. So vlogs are coming back, But that leads me to what I was saying earlier. Uh, my wife and I are actually going to Japan next week. We were supposed to go last year, and it didn't happen for a number of reasons. However, we're finally going, and we're going to be gone for, I think it's like 10 days. And it's really going to be great because we've been looking forward to this for so long. And I think like these last few weeks, I've kind of just been overworked because work's been hectic on top of like planning the trip. It's really exciting that we're finally going and going to be doing the things that we want to do, even if it's really just like walking around eating. But we have a bunch of stuff planned, and we have a bunch of stuff that we're really looking forward to that we one couldn't do in America, two it's affordable over there, and three this is our first international trip since our honeymoon in 2017. So can't wait for that. Japan is like my dream trip, and my wife's a sushi nut, so all she's been sending me on social media is just look at this sushi restaurant, look at that sushi restaurant. So it's going to be really cool, and I think it's going to be it's going to be very inspiring for a number of reasons. One, the Japanese culture, like the Japanese pop culture, between like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, the things I loved as a kid is like everywhere. And then you have the mecca of all Godzilla. There's so much interwoven in their culture. And then just put those things aside. You have the temples, you have the shrines, you have the history, you have things like Hiroshima. We can do tours of Hiroshima. We have the beautiful scenery. You have the stunning flowers. You have just all the scenery. You really get the benefit of having a massive city like Tokyo, and then another big city like Osaka, and then in between that you have like Mount Fuji and Kyoto, and all this beautiful scenery with these almost Blade Runner-esque cities is just so enticing. And I can't wait to get out there. And I think it's going to be the mecca of inspiration. And I'm going to be filming while I'm over there and really give you guys a glimpse of kind of like a show on the road, which I've done before, but like not to this scale. To be able to go to Japan is just wild. So keep a lookout for that. I'll probably do 2 episodes while I'm there, like one a week. Or well, I'm not gonna promise any like how much or how many episodes I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be filming a lot, so we'll see how that kind of just mashes together and edits together. So we'll see how that goes. But this is kind of like my break into getting back into YouTube, getting back into vlogging, getting back into being creative in front of the camera, and really creating outside of just writing my books. My writing is going to be done quite a bit while I'm in the air. I think the flight is like 17 hours. So even with sleep, even with movies, that's still a lot of time to kill. Like a 5-hour flight seems like a lot. So 17 hours, it's like the longest flight by like 10 hours. Like in my longest flight was like 6 hours, something like that. So we'll see. So I'm really just excited to like get thrown into like the creative, I guess that like the creative hurricane again. I think that it's going to be very inspiring, and my wife's a creative person too, so I think she's going to be very inspired to do many different things. She's kind of like always wants to work on something, whether it's start a business, whether it's something creative like a craft or many different. I mean, she has like 5 or 6 different crafts she wants to do. So I think she gets very inspired and wants to try a little bit of everything, and that's very inspiring to me because I would like to do multiple things, but outside of writing and vlogging, it's really hard to do a lot more with being back at work and being back in the real world. But we'll see, because we're going to have all that time on the plane to do many different things. Obviously, we're not going to be like sculpting on the plane, but I will be writing, and I hope to be doing a lot of. I hope to be getting a lot of words on paper, and hopefully by the end of the trip, I can have some sort of like loose, rough draft that I can get going towards another book later this year. But we'll see. I mean, the official release date was the end of April 26th, so I don't really like putting them out far or too close together because they kind of like overlap. So, but I think like one book every like 3 to 4 months or 6 months is fair. But anyway, I'm probably going to keep it. I'm going to start winding down, but yeah. So if you guys are interested in anything I'm writing, specifically because these ones are available, Dead Planet or the Cathedral Dimension, which is my newest book, and you guys have a Barnes and Noble near you, and you would like to see on the shelves, I would say just go in and talk to the manager or talk to customer service and see if they can do something like that. If not, go to your store and place an order and check it out. And I appreciate the support. And I support you doing that because I started that sentence with support. And if not, if you would rather a more personal touch, I would say go to my website and order from me. I still have a bunch of copies. These are honestly going to be on my shelf until Living Dead weekend. So if you are interested, I mean, I'm going to be in Japan for 2 weeks, but if you would like something, by the end of May, if you would like something by early June, I can do that. So either way, I'm very grateful for your support, and I'm very grateful that you were hanging out with me tonight. What else did we talk about? Authorcon, please go check out Authorcon on social media. Please go check out Scares I Care on social media. If you plan on going to Virginia, that'll be the end of March of next year. If you plan on going to St. Louis, that's the first weekend of October this year. I will be at the St. Louis show, and I'll be sharing a table with my friend Tony Evans. So keep an eye out for both of us there. And I'm going to be stepping it up with vlogging. I'm going to be stepping up with going live a little bit more. I would like to do another live with another creator or another author or another influencer. I had a lot of fun with Kira. The problem with Kira is that she's such a fun person to talk to. Like, me and my wife me and my wife and Kira and her husband Dennis, we got lunch, and I think we sat at lunch like almost an hour after we finished eating. And the same thing with dinner on Sunday night. And it was just one of those things where like you just kind of want to just talk and talk and talk. Like, wow, we're good friends, and like we just kind of want to like talk until the sun comes up. And I definitely think that spilled over in the live, which is fun, but it was like 9 o'clock, and like I was like, I'm keeping her up too late. I feel bad, but maybe I can find a time like on a Saturday or something like that where I can do this for like an hour or two, maybe 3 hours if the energy's there, or if we're vibing just right. So we'll see. And if anyone's interested, if they just want to just talk, or if they just want to just hang out and chat about books or writing or reading or anything creative, I'm so down to just hang with anyone. So let's get something going. But yeah, I think that's it. I want to thank everyone for coming in and watching. I want to thank everyone for chatting. Brandon, thanks for chatting me up. I hope you're all well, dude. I think you're like Midwest, aren't you? But like, it's good to see. I'm good to see you're doing well, dude. I'll have to But, I think I'm going near you in August. So maybe we can meet up. We'll see. We'll chat. But to everyone who came in, I appreciate you, and thanks for watching. And you have a great weekend. Talk to you guys soon.